Hello everyone, Miss Carrie here. The card we're creating is rather simple and will give you an opportunity to use a few of the items in your collection. The sentiment for this card will be created with a hot foil machine using the This Calls for Confetti Spring Has Sprung foil plate. I'm also going to share some ink blending tips with you as we add color to our adorable bunny die cuts. To give this card a spring feel, I'll be using the speckled paper collection, which is a great match to this Hearts in Bloom mix. I can't wait to show you how I use these. To create today's card, you will need some white cardstock cut at 5 inches by 3 3/4, and another piece cut at 5 1/4 by 4 inches. I have cut my pattern paper strips at 1/4 of an inch width by 6 inches long. I have laid mine in order to save myself a little bit of brain power. I have also cut 2 medium bunnies and a bow from white cardstock. Before cutting the bow, I added some double-sided tape to the back. I'll explain why I did this when we assemble the card. The bunnies are going to be shaded with Distress Oxide inks. We're going to start with that part of the project first so that the ink has time to set. I'm going to give these bunnies a soft, natural color. On this first bunny, I'm starting out with tea dye ink. This card design has a simple spring color palette, and the neutral tones are going to pair beautifully with the pattern papers I'm using. To give this a little bit of texture, I'm going to mist the bunny with water, and then I'll dab up the excess water with a towel. Now, before I add another layer of ink, I'm going to dry this real quick with a heat tool on a low setting. To add some depth and shading, I'm going to add a small amount of vintage photo ink around the edges. Right now, those edges look a little harsh, so I'm going to blend another layer of tea dye over the top. This is going to create a nice soft blend and dry to a chalky finish. I love the way this looks. For my second bunny, I'll use pumice stone ink to create a soft gray shade. As I mentioned earlier, I want my card to have a soft, muted feel, but you can use any colors that you like for these bunnies. If you're a fan of marshmallow bunnies, you could shade these in some bright colors. Pink, yellow, blue, or green would look great on this design. All right, our bunnies are finished. I'm going to set these aside so that they fully dry and the ink sets. Let's create the background for our card next. I've pre-cut pattern paper strips at 1/4 an inch wide by 6 inches, and I've already arranged the pattern in a tray. The blue pattern is going to sit in the center of the 5 by 3 3/4 inch cardstock. I'm going to add some double-sided tape to the back of the paper strip and lay this diagonally across the card. Now I'm going to use some removable tape to create my spacing. The removable tape and double-sided tape are both 1/4 of an inch. This is going to give me a nice, even diagonal pattern on the background. Of course, you can glue down the paper strips, but I find that using double-sided tape instead of glue prevents warping and keeps the strips nice and flat. So this is what it looks like when all of the tape is in place. Let's go ahead and remove the backing pieces and add our paper strips. I chose a mix of colors for my background, but you can use any color scheme that fits your card theme. This is a great way to use up paper scraps that you've been hoarding. Collecting. You could also use one of the striped stencils from This Calls for Confetti and create your own personalized color palette. I would love for one of you to give that a try. All right, now all of my paper strips are in place. I'm going to trim this down using a paper trimmer to remove the excess, and I'll set it aside for assembly. Before we can put the card together, we need to make our sentiment. Now, I've shared quite a few foiling tips in my videos recently, so I'm going to speed through this part of the project. I'm using a bright pink foil to match the confetti bits I chose. I've trimmed it down to fit my sentiment, and I'm placing the layers onto some smooth cardstock. Now that my glimmer machine is ready, I'm going to place this stack onto the hot plate with the sentiment facing down. If you don't have a foiling machine, This Calls for Confetti has these adorable gold and white rub-on transfers, or you could heat emboss a stamped sentiment for a similar effect. Now we're going to remove the plate and run this through the die cut machine. All right, it's cool to the touch. Let's remove our tape and peel this back. This is so pretty, right? All right, now for the fun part. Let's assemble the card. I'm adhering the striped background onto the larger white piece of cardstock. These two bunnies are going to be popped off the card with a little foam tape. I want to create a layered look, so I'm adding 1mm foam adhesive to the back of one bunny and 2mm adhesive to the back of the other. I like to layer them off the card so that I can figure out their placement together as a group. I trimmed the sentiment to a 1/2 inch wide and cut a chevron on the right. The foiled sentiment is going to sit near the bottom of the card and line up with the left edge. At this point, you can call it finished and send this card off to a friend. But I love adding embellishments. This Calls for Confetti is known for their collection of embellishments. Most people use these for shaker cards, but I like to add them as decorations to my projects. On this bunny here, I'm going to use the clay leaves and flowers to create a crown at the top. In the comments, let me know how you like to use your This Calls for Confetti shaker elements. Are you one who uses them only for shaker cards, or do you have other uses for these cute little pieces? All right, isn't that crown just too cute? Let's go ahead and add our bow tie to the other bunny. I mentioned earlier that I added double-sided tape to the back of the cardstock before I cut these out. This is going to help with the assembly of this bow. The larger piece is pretty simple. It will sit right here and stick in place just like a sticker. These small pieces are the ones that I found challenging to glue in place. Double-sided tape makes this so much easier. I just have to pick up the pieces and pop them in place. Now, if you liked this tip or any of the others I shared with you today, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. When you do, this video gets shared with more crafty card makers just like you. The last little bit is this tiny centerpiece. Wasn't that so simple? The double-sided tape made it easy. And there you have it, a simple, beautiful spring card with fun ink blending, pattern paper strips, and foiling. If you enjoyed this tutorial, make sure you give it a thumbs up, share it with your crafty friends, and subscribe for more creative ideas. If you have any questions about the project or supplies I used, feel free to post those in the comments. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I can't wait to see what you create.